Before I tell you how I destroyed everything, please, if you're watching this, hit the like button. It helps more people hear this story. And maybe, just maybe, it'll stop someone from doing what I did. I've been married to Bob for almost 10 years. We met right after college, and I fell head over heels. He is everything you could ever want. Handsome, kind, generous, a man's man who could light up any room. He made me feel alive. He took me zip-lining, whitewater rafting, camping, things I never even dreamed of doing. Life with him felt like a dream, the kind of story people envy when they see it in pictures on social media. We were so different, yet it worked. I'm white-collar, driven, and ambitious. His blue-collar, steady, and reliable. Our differences seemed to complement each other. And for years, I believed love alone could conquer anything. I told myself that a safe, comfortable, happy life was enough. I told myself I should be grateful every single day. And in many ways, I was. But 9 years in, something started to shift. It wasn't anything obvious. No fights, no betrayal, but a quiet restlessness began to grow inside me. I loved Bob with all my heart, but sometimes, late at night, I'd find myself staring out the window, thinking about what life could be beyond our home, our routine, and our perfect life. I wanted to be seen, challenged, and admired in ways Bob never realized I craved. And I couldn't admit it, not even to myself. I had started a career after college, full of ambition and drive. Bob had always supported me, encouraged me to find the right jobs, the right opportunities. He never made me feel small or incapable. But I began to notice how much my world was expanding intellectually, while my personal life remained the same. I was learning, growing, achieving, but feeling confined, limited in ways I couldn't explain. Then came the project that would change everything. A nationwide rollout, months of planning, a chance to prove myself on a massive scale. I was tasked with taking an idea from a colleague, Jim, and applying it across all our offices. For months, we had been communicating through emails and video calls, planning, strategizing. And suddenly, for the final phase, we would have to work together in person. When I first heard Jim was coming to my office, I felt something I couldn't name. A mix of curiosity, excitement, and an unshakable sense of danger. I didn't know him well. Just in passing at conferences, but there was something about him that made my chest tighten in a way Bob never had. I told myself it was just nerves, anticipation for the project. But deep down, I knew something was about to happen. Something that would change my life forever. Jim arrived on Monday morning, just as the office was coming to life. From the moment he stepped through the door, there was a presence about him. A quiet confidence, an intensity in his eyes that I couldn't ignore. We exchanged polite greetings, brief smiles, nothing overt, but the electricity in the room was undeniable. I felt it. He felt it. And even though I tried to focus on the project, my mind kept drifting to him. Our workdays quickly became intertwined. We shared meals, laughed over coffee breaks, and stayed late at the office, sometimes until the lights dimmed and the building felt empty and intimate. I started noticing little things, how he tilted his head when he listened to me, the way he lingered on my words, the small gestures that spoke louder than any compliment. I told myself it was professional admiration, nothing more, but my body, my mind, my heart, told a different story. I caught him looking at me when I wasn't paying attention, and I didn't look away. In fact, I found myself leaning into the gaze, drawn by the magnetism I couldn't explain. The air between us was charged, fragile, dangerous. Every time our hands brushed over papers or notebooks, a shiver ran down my spine. I tried to push it away, reminding myself of Bob, of our life together, of everything I had promised to protect. And yet, the thrill grew. I found myself anticipating our next meeting, thinking of the clever debates we'd have, the jokes only we understood. There was an intellectual connection too. He challenged me, made me think in ways Bob never had. It was intoxicating, addictive even. I told myself it was harmless, that I could control it, but I knew the truth. The line between professional and personal was already blurred. By the end of the first week, our small moments of closeness had become impossible to ignore. I began to feel emotions I hadn't felt in years, not just attraction, but desire, longing, a dangerous curiosity about what it would feel like to be with him, in a way I could never admit. And somewhere in the back of my mind, a small voice whispered that I was on the edge of something I could never return from. It happened one night, later than usual. The office was empty, quiet except for the hum of computers and the soft ticking of the clock. We were finishing up some last-minute details, and I could feel the tension building between us like a storm about to break. I tried to focus on the documents in front of me, on the spreadsheets and presentations, but my mind kept drifting to Jim. The way he leaned just a little too close, the way his eyes lingered on mine longer than necessary. And then, as we were leaving the office together, it happened. He grabbed my shoulders gently, but with a force that sent a jolt through my body, and kissed me. My heart raced, my stomach flipped, and I felt that electric mixture of fear and excitement. I kissed him back, almost instinctively, as if my body had been waiting for this moment without my permission. Time seemed to stop, and for a second, the world outside the office ceased to exist. Then reality hit me like a cold splash of water. Guilt clawed at me, sharp and unrelenting. Bob was waiting at home, exhausted from a long day at work, trusting me completely. The thought of his smile, his steady presence, his unwavering love, made me want to turn and run. I pulled away, words caught in my throat, my mind racing. I told myself I could stop this before it went any further. I went home that night, my hands trembling, trying to compose myself. Bob was there, tired but cheerful, oblivious to the storm raging inside me. I tried to laugh at his jokes, to act normal, to convince myself that one kiss could be just a mistake. But deep down, I knew it was only the beginning. The next morning, that beginning called me. I found myself standing outside Jim's hotel, heart hammering, trying to rationalize what I was about to do. I told myself we could just talk, just clarify, and just put an end to the tension. But when I stepped inside, the same spark, the same electricity, pulled me in. One conversation led to another, and before I knew it, I had crossed the line I promised I never would. That first kiss was a gateway. It opened doors to desires I hadn't faced in years, to choices I didn't want to make, and to a series of decisions that would destroy everything I loved. And yet, in that moment, I couldn't stop myself. The guilt was there, yes, but so was the undeniable thrill, the thrill that would consume me completely in the weeks to come. If you're still watching, take a second to like this video. What would you do if you discovered your spouse doing what I did? Comment below. I read every single one. The first night we were alone, the hotel room felt electric. Dim lights, quiet streets outside, and that undeniable tension between us. We talked at first, trying to justify, rationalize, and understand what had just happened, but the conversation quickly dissolved into something more primal. Every brush of his hand, every lingering look, felt like a spark to a fire I couldn't put out. I tried to tell myself I could stop, that this was temporary, just a fleeting mistake. But deep down, I knew I was already in too deep. The next morning, we returned to the office as if nothing had happened. Smiles, casual greetings, professional conversations, but beneath the surface, the current between us had changed. Every glance, every word exchanged, was charged. The secrecy made it all more intoxicating. The thrill of hiding something so dangerous, so forbidden, made my heart race in ways it hadn't in years. By the end of that first week, meeting every night became routine. I would leave Bob at home, unsuspecting, trusting me completely, and run to Jim's hotel. It wasn't just physical. It was emotional, too. He listened, understood, challenged me intellectually in ways Bob never had. Each encounter made me feel alive, desired, and seen, while simultaneously tearing me apart with guilt. I started lying openly about my whereabouts, inventing late nights at the office or additional work for clients. I told myself it was temporary, that I could stop before anyone ever found out. But the deeper I sank, the harder it became to imagine a life without him. Jim was no longer just a colleague, he had become an addiction. And every night, as I returned home to Bob, his trust and love weighed on me like a stone in my chest. I knew the line had been crossed. I knew I had risked everything, my marriage, my career, my reputation. And yet, each night with Jim made me crave more. The secrecy, the thrill, the intellectual and physical pull, it was intoxicating, unstoppable. And somewhere, deep in the back of my mind, I knew that continuing this path would lead to destruction. But by then, the pull of temptation was stronger than my fear of consequence. As the affair continued, I found myself walking a razor's edge between excitement and fear. Every encounter with Jim was intoxicating, but the guilt I carried for betraying Bob weighed heavier with each passing day. I loved him, truly loved him, but part of me craved something different, something dangerous, something that made me feel alive in a way our perfect life never could. I tried to rationalize my actions. I told myself that Jim challenged me intellectually in ways Bob never had. He made me laugh, think, question, and explore ideas I had long buried beneath routine and comfort. He made me feel important in ways I had forgotten I could feel. And maybe, I thought, craving that was human, natural, a way to rediscover a part of myself that I had lost in the daily grind of work, home, and obligation. But even as I justified it, I knew the danger was real. My career, my reputation, my life with Bob. Everything I had built, hung by a thread. Every stolen glance in the office, every hotel meeting, and every late-night whisper felt like walking blindfolded over a cliff. And yet, the pull of Jim, the thrill of being wanted, was impossible to resist. I began manipulating situations, finding excuses to be alone with him. Small things at first, working late on a project, discussing plans in private, but it escalated. Every choice I made, every lie I told myself, drew me closer to a cliff I couldn't step back from. And still, I couldn't stop thinking about him. I couldn't stop imagining what life would be like if I gave in fully, if I left Bob behind. I could almost hear the voices in my head telling me it was worth the risk, that love could be redefined, that happiness lay just beyond the next choice. But somewhere, deep inside, a small, insistent voice whispered that I was playing with fire. That eventually, my choices would catch up to me, and when they did, the fall would be catastrophic. I just didn't know yet how far down it would go, or how much I would lose along the way. By the final week of the project, the affair had escalated beyond what I could control. Jim's attraction to me was no longer subtle. He was possessive, demanding, and relentless. He wanted more than secret meetings at the hotel. He wanted to be closer, more involved, part of my daily life. And I, foolishly, entertained the idea. Every day at the office became a tightrope walk. I had to hide my feelings, my longing, my late-night rendezvous. Every glance from a colleague, every unexpected visitor, made my heart pound. The tension was unbearable, a constant reminder that I was living a lie. And yet, the thrill of hiding the truth, the adrenaline of doing something forbidden, made it almost irresistible. I began to manipulate situations more aggressively. I invented excuses to spend time with Jim, pretending it was all about work, when in reality, it was about satisfying a craving I couldn't suppress. Each encounter became more daring. Late-night hotel meetings, whispered conversations in empty hallways, stolen moments where I could feel his eyes on me, burning with desire and expectation. It all came crashing down faster than I could have imagined. Bob had always been reliable, steady, and incredibly perceptive, even when I thought I was fooling him. One afternoon, he came home earlier than usual from a long week on the construction site. At first, everything seemed normal. I greeted him with a smile, pretending I had been at work late, as usual. But the way he looked at me, something in his eyes told me that he knew. Later that evening, the confrontation happened. Bob stood in the doorway of my office, his face a mix of disbelief, hurt, and rage. Jim froze, his usual confidence gone in an instant. The power dynamic shifted. All the lies, all the stolen nights, all the manipulation, exposed in a heartbeat. Bob didn't yell, didn't curse. His quiet fury was far more terrifying. He simply stared at both of us, the weight of years of trust and love pressing down like a storm. I wanted to explain, to beg, to justify myself, but words failed me. Every excuse I had prepared evaporated in the heat of that moment. Jim tried to assert control, tried to charm his way out, but it was too late. Bob called in the office security and HR, exposing the affair publicly. Colleagues whispered, glanced, and stared. Jim's smug demeanor crumbled into panic. The confidence he had wielded so easily evaporated, replaced by fear and humiliation. In that instant, I realized the full cost of my choices. My marriage, my reputation, my career, all teetered on the edge of ruin. The affair that had once felt thrilling, exhilarating, and irresistible now lay bare as reckless, selfish, and cruel. Jim was gone, leaving me to face the consequences alone, while Bob's disappointment cut deeper than I had ever imagined. The fall was brutal, and it was just beginning. Now, sitting here alone, I realize the full magnitude of what I've done. I've lost myself in desire, in temptation, in a thrill that seemed harmless at first, but wasn't. Bob, the man I loved more than life itself, the one who had given me everything, was left broken and betrayed because of my choices. And Jim, the man I thought was my escape, my intellectual equal, is gone, humiliated, exposed, and discarded as easily as I once discarded my own morality. I can't take back the nights I spent with him, the lies I told, the trust one shattered. I can't undo the hurt in Bob's eyes when he realized the truth. And even now, I wrestle with the questions. Why did I let this happen? Was it ambition? Was it curiosity? Or was it simply a failure of character, a weakness I never admitted I had? Every day I replay the moments, the stolen glances, the hotel room, the thrill of secrecy, and I feel the weight of it pressing down, suffocating. The life I took for granted, the love I thought would endure anything, is gone, or at least, irreparably changed. I realize now that excitement, desire, and intellectual connection are no substitute for loyalty, commitment, and love. I wish I could tell Bob I'm sorry in a way that truly matters, that could undo the damage. I wish I could confront Jim, show him the ruin he left behind as much as I've been left ruined. But apologies aren't enough. They never will be. So here I am, confessing to you, strangers on the internet, because I have no one else left to confide in. I am consumed by guilt, regret, and the knowledge that my choices led to a chain reaction of pain, humiliation, and heartbreak. I have learned the hardest lesson of my life, but it comes too late. And the truth is, sometimes learning the lesson is not the same as being able to fix the damage. I only hope that by telling this story, by confessing, someone else will understand how easy it is to lose everything when you chase a thrill, when you let temptation override reason, when you forget the people who truly love you. I hope someone watches this and sees the danger before it's too late. Because I know now, it is far too late for me. If this story made you feel anything anger, sadness, disbelief, please like this video. Tell me in the comments what you think Bob should have done. And don't forget to subscribe for more real stories like this, stories that remind us how fragile trust really is. Because sometimes, love doesn't end in heartbreak. It ends in silence.